Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning to everyone. Thanks everyone for introducing yourselves in the chat. My name is Dewana McCreary, and I am your presenter for this morning. We also have in the chat Diana Terry, who will be monitoring our chat. So we'd like to say good morning to Diana. And on behalf of PTD Technology, we'd like to welcome you to the CTEIS Fall Training, Fiscal Agency Authorized Official, and CPID Administrator training for today. And on your screen, you should see our training agenda. We are going to go through the topics that we're going to cover in training this morning. And we're going to go ahead, I believe we can go ahead and get started. Okay, the first item on the agenda this morning we're going to cover is our introduction. We'd like to give our CTEIS support resources and PTD contact information, which can be found on support.cetis.com. So we're going to go to our knowledge base and show where all of our support resources can be found. Our next topic that we're going to go over this morning is our fiscal agent fall task recap. So we're going to recap some of the fall course and staff data entry procedures. We're going to go over manage new users, expenditures, follow-up, and the enrollment information. So we're going to just kind of recap that information. We're going to also go again over the fall course and staff submission procedures. So we're going to have a couple of demos, and we're going to look at that from the fiscal agent procedures. So that's what we're going to do as our second topic. Our third topic, we're going to go over our CPID administrator fall tasks, and that is our task related to new users assistance, expenditures, follow-up, and enrollment instructional design. We'll also do a fall and course staff submission demo as well for the CPID administrator. And then our last topic, we're just going to go over some topics related to looking ahead, our fall course and staff collection. We have our due dates. The expenditures training is the next collection that will begin on October 3rd. So if you have not registered for your expenditures training, we encourage you to do so. Follow-up training begins on October 17th. The same, if you have not registered for follow-up, we encourage you to do that. And then UIC MSDS data review. This is a looking ahead for April. This after our expenditures and follow-up collections, we're going into our spring procedures. So that's where that falls. And then the CPID admin, CPID option selection process begins in April. But we're going to go over all of these in, there's a calendar in both for fiscal and CPID admin. So we're going to go over that when we go over our material. So I'll show you where those dates can be found. And Diana has dropped in the chat, the October 5th session has space available. So if you want to register, that date is available. So please make note of that. So those are the topics that we're going to go over this morning. I'm going to go on mute for just a second to change over to our support site, and that is support.cetis.com. So you're going to hear a brief pause, and I'm going to switch my screen. Okay, and we're back. So on your screen, you should see the CTEIS Knowledge Base homepage. And this is where we keep all of the resource material for our collection processes for enrollment, expenditures, follow-up, imports. All of that information can be found here. It can also be found by clicking on the links here in the bottom. On the side here is just the due dates of the collections. As I stated, fall course and staff collection, that is due to the CPID administrator October 12th. And then this CPID administrator submits to OCTE October 19th. The same for expenditures and follow-up. And then these are going into the spring dates here down at the bottom. So just this is just here. It's a reflection of the OCTE calendar. So this is just here for your convenience. All of the dates are the same as the OCTE calendar. For a quick moment, we're going to go under the data entry tab and click on enrollment. If you attended one of the fall data entry trainings, this is where we have all of our fall data entry materials. So right here under fall enrollment tasks, here under this link, you can find all of the fall enrollment task documents. And this is what we gave, shared the information in the past trainings. So we're going to go to our support and assistance here, this first link. And just to inform, whenever you are inside of the CTEIS application, just know that technical assistance is always available. So PTD Technology provides technical support to districts operating career and technical education or CTE programs. The CTEIS Help Desk email as well as telephone number is on this document. Questions of a technical nature may include how do I navigate CTEIS, how do I import student records, or how do I send completed reports to the Office of Career and Technical Education. Those can be answered by the CTEIS Help Desk, so please reach out if you have technical questions. If you have reporting policy questions, and those are how do I set up my classes for reporting? Am I allowed to begin follow-up surveys early? Those are questions you want to direct directly to OCTE, and that contact person is Joan Church, and her information is available on this document, so please reach out to her. As we get into our other reporting collection periods, the expenditures, you would still, for policy questions, still reach out to Joan Church. But then when we go into our follow-up reports, which is training is on about the mid of October, you want to reach out to Inchin E, and her email as well as her telephone number is on this document. And again, that's for policy questions. All technical questions, no matter the collection period, should be addressed to the CTEIS Help Desk. This is just an additional support information. The training videos, as well as other training videos, are available on the YouTube channel. And then you want to make sure that you're signed up for the listserv. That is the email communication. If there's system updates or information pertaining to newsletters, we communicate that through the listserv. If you have not signed up for the listserv, we encourage you to reach out to Jackie Martinez, and her email can be found on the bottom of this document here. This additional information just goes over the overview of CTEIS and how the actual process works for collection and submission. This document, this graphical picture here also explains the submission process. So if you want to review this information, if you haven't had a chance to look at it for the fall enrollment task, there's an overview here. Managed courses and managed staff documents are here for the fall data collection that's due October 12th to your CPID administrator. Only course and staff information is required. So if you need to suggest this information to builder reporters, or if you need to look over this information yourself, that information can be found here on how to input courses as well as staff. Instructional videos are also available, so you can kind of point to this information if needed. And then the rest of this is how to validate and submit your data. So this is a submission document to go through the procedures of submitting your data, and then data review. So again, this is all of the information that we covered in fall data entry training. And this is available here for your review. We're going to go into our administrator tab now. So if you hover over administrator, you will see that fiscal agent as well as CPID admin tabs are there. So we're going to click on the fiscal agent tab here. And this is the fiscal agent homepage. So here it describes the fiscal agent role. And the fiscal agency appointed official is one who is authorized to manage all building level CTEIS users within the fiscal agency. It's just additional breakdown information of the key points of the CTEIS system, as well as fiscal agent authorized official tasks. We're going to go through these today, but the first link that we're going to click on is the CTEIS responsibilities of the FA. So if you click this link, this will take you to a PDF document that lays out the information for the responsibilities of a level 5 fiscal agency authorized official. And we're going to go through this information here. Just briefly highlight some points here. I won't go over it entirely, but I do want to point out some information. So again, support, technical help, the CTEIS help desk, reporting policy, either Joan Church for both fall data or your enrollment and your expenditures, and then Inchin E is for follow-up. You may find that going to the actual OCTE website might be useful to answer some of your questions, so there's just a link here in this document. So we're going to go over fiscal agent responsibilities, but if you're a CPID, we encourage you to listen in, as some of that information may be similar. So we do have a separate documentation for CPID, and we'll be getting to that shortly. So the level 5 authorized official, the Office of Career and Technical Education, or OCTE, approves 2 fiscal agency level 5 authorized official from each fiscal agency district in Michigan. So FAs are an integral part to the CTE report submission process, which is completed using the CTEIS application. One of the tasks that the FAs have is authorizing user accounts within CTEIS. So if you're a fiscal agent, you have the ability to delegate reporting roles and responsibilities to CTE personnel, and grant access to student data, as well as other functions contained within the CTEIS system. This includes CPID administrators as well as building reporters. So that is referred to as managed users, and we're going to go over that process in the CTEIS application. We're going to do a demonstration shortly, so we'll be doing that when we get over to our demos. So in addition to managing users, you're responsible for the submission of accurate and timely CTE data. So throughout the year, FAs can expect to review the enrollment, expenditure, follow-up data reported by the building reporters. When the accuracy of this information has been verified, the fiscal agent must then submit the associated reports to the CPID administrator. This next block of information is a timeline of events just kind of highlighted by month. So for the month of September, it is encouraged that you start working on your manage new users. If there's new users, you need to grant access. So that is one of the tasks that you may be doing during the month of September. Begin coordinating expenditure personnel. Begin coordinating follow-up personnel. and then begin coordinating enrollment personnel and assisting with the proper instructional design of classes. So we know that all of the fall course and staff data that's input into the system is going towards a bigger collection period, which is in the spring. So looking ahead, you want to make sure that all of that information is being entered into the system timely and accurately, and also setting up for the different collections that also come with the spring enrollment, which is, for instance, the work-based learning as well as the credentials. So you want to start thinking about those and getting those procedures in place, working towards the spring. For October, again, the class staff and enrollment data deadline, or core staff and data enrollment deadline, and we shared that that was October 12th as well as October 19th. Well, I would say you would need to have that submitted to your CPED administrator by October 12th, and then the CPED administrator submits that information by October 19th to OCTE. In November, the expenditures report submission due date. And then again, as I just stated, oversee work-based learning and post-secondary credential collection. So you want to make sure that you're working towards those procedures for work-based learning, setting up the classes and putting in the information regarding work-based learning and credentials as you can. So again, that information isn't overwhelming in the spring. For January is the follow-up report submission due date. April is to oversee UIC and MSDS data review and maintenance. May is the student enrollment data deadline. And then June is your enrollment report submission. So this just kind of goes a little bit more in depth to the actual fall tasks. So again, we talked about managed users a few seconds ago, and this is the procedures to how to get into the CTEIS screens. And this is just a picture of the CTEIS screens and the instructions on how to input user information. So this is the procedures we'll be following in our demo a little bit in a short time when we do our demos. And this is for managed users. Again, this is editing and adding CTEIS user, so just additional information for that. This is just additional information, again, highlighting the upcoming collection periods. And beginning in September, OCTE provides webinar training designed to educate building reporters and district administrators on CTE data collection processes. The fall training focuses on expenditures. Again, the report is due in November. The follow-up report that's due in January, and also emphasizes collecting data for the enrollment report. And then again, all of the information for these upcoming trainings can be found here if you want to browse through this information. All of the training documentation can be found on support.cteis.com. So that's what this document outlines here. Just want to point out, fiscal agents are also advised to create milestones or schedules for their reporters to adhere to so that the district data is entered in throughout the year rather than massively at the end of the year, as I was stating earlier. So you want to make sure to have the district building reporters aware of the upcoming training, prepared to answer questions, and facilitate data gathering and submission. So you want to just make sure, again, that all of the processes are made aware to the building reporters, and make sure that everyone is staying on task so that it's not a big, massive information that's due for these specific collection periods. The purpose of the fall course and staff entry is required to provide OCTE program staff a preview of the courses and staff that will be operated operating in the current year. And this information allows program staff to accurately plan functions accordingly. So again, that's due the fall course and staff data. And you want to make sure that all of the staff and courses or the staff is linked to courses, and that information is in by the fall data enrollment deadline. For November, your expenditures data review and building reporters should submit final expenditures data for fiscal agent approval during the first week of November. Again, that date is on our knowledge base homepage just for your review. And OCTE uses this report to calculate total program costs and funding formulas from year to year. So it is critical that district report all expenditure data, not just the minimum required to satisfy local contribution and program improvement criteria. So we'll go over this information in the expenditures training that's coming up on, if you haven't signed up, October 5th, I believe is available. And we will go over this information in detail, but you're just looking ahead. This is just overview of what the expenditures collection process entails. And again, the expenditures documentation can be found on support.cetis.com. Same for follow-up. This is just an overview of the follow-up. And we will have follow-up training in just a few weeks where we will specify the specific procedures for follow-up procedures. But this here just gives information and reports that may be useful for fiscal agents to review regarding the follow-up submission. And that follow-up information will be available shortly. There should be packets going out with the follow-up materials, and then you can get a better understanding if you haven't done follow-up collection in the training sessions that are coming up in October. I believe October 17th is when follow-up training begins. And then again, as I stated, the spring task, just looking ahead, the UIC and MSDS data review. This just here, this information just support or offers reports or suggests reports that may be useful during this time for the UIC and MSDS here. So that UIC by building report and UIC with no current MSDS may be useful. So you can look over this information as the spring task in April. And then in May, all CTE students must be enrolled in at least one course section in CTEIS by the CTEIS MSDS match dates data deadline. The second week of May. So just keep those due dates in mind when you get towards the spring. You want to make sure that all of this information is in. And again, just additional reports that may be useful for reviewing that information. And then as we stated, the enrollment data review and submission is in June. So all of your enrollment data, as well as your work-based learning and credentials, is due in June for that deadline. And this is just information on how to review the reports for that submission. And I'll show you where the reports are in just a minute when we go into our demos, where you can find CTEIS reports that you can review, but this is just an outline of all of the reports that you may find useful for that collection period. Again, additional information here for reports. Okay, so this is the fiscal agent overview of the tasks and responsibilities, as well as instructional information for managed users. I'm going to go back to the fiscal agent homepage, and we're going to slide down just a bit. And as you can see, okay, so here is the agenda that I showed earlier in training. So if you want to download that for your records, you can. Manage Users Guide specifically is here. Again, that information is in the document that we just showed, but this is just here as a quick guide for your convenience. This is the enrollment data review. This is for the spring, but this here is the submission processes for fall course and staff data. So I'm going to click on this. And this is the procedure a fiscal agent would use, a fiscal agent would use to submit the course and staff data to the CPID administrator. So this is how to run the validation and submit for the building reporter. And then if you scroll down, this is how to submit for the fiscal agency authorized official. And I am going to do a demo here, but you do have to have your My Login to log into CTEIS and then submit the report to the CPID after you've done your review. And the information is accurate. You submit to the CPID, and this is just the procedures for that. So this is what you will be doing right now once the building reporter submit the fall course and staff data to you as the fiscal agent. This is the procedures here if you need to review that. And then we're going to now go to our demonstration. So I'm going to go to our training site, and I'll drop that training site in the chat if you want to follow along. So just give me 1 second to switch my screen over. So I'm going to go on a brief pause. Okay, so this here is the training site. If you want to try to demo some of the procedures that we will cover in training, you can use the train.ctis.com site with your My Login credentials, and it will not mess up your actual data, or it will not reflect your actual data. So if you want to do that, you can do that. So what we're going to do now is log in with our fiscal agent credentials. And so here, I don't know if we have any new users in the chat. Here it would say log in using My Login. This training site mirrors the actual CTEIS site, so it may not look exactly the same. And the documentation within the training site is obfuscated, which means it's kind of scrambled up, but all of the information mirrors that, so we can do our training demos without actually messing up any actual data. So this here is the home page for the CTEIS site. The announcement information panel is here. So this just gives you upcoming information and announcements. Just as it was on the support site, these are the dates that OCTE provides for the upcoming collection. So this is just here for your convenience. And then here down at the bottom, these links will link you back to the CTEIS knowledge base where you can explore the documentation related to the collection period. So if you want to look at enrollment documentation, it'll take you to that homepage on the support site. So you can review that information if you need to. So we're going to log in here. Again, this is as a fiscal agent authorized official. As you can see here, I have two options here, admin, which if I click that, it shows that I have the fiscal agent capabilities here. And then this is for our demo in just a minute. I've been granted also CPID admin, so we're going to get to the CPID in just a minute. But looking over here, manage users. And as I stated, fiscal agency authorized officials have the ability to grant user access. And this is a demo that we're going to do first. So we're going to click on manage users here. And this is the manage users page. You can review, add, and edit district users. So for this demonstration, I've only been granted access to one building, which is the Breckenridge, or one district, which is the Breckenridge Community Schools. So I don't have any access to anything else. But if you were to click this with your access, you may have other buildings within this drop-down menu. So you want to make sure you select the correct district. You want to select the role. And this gives you options for the role. So if you want to see all users, funding, expenditures, program follow-up, level 2 or level 4, you can view those users by clicking in the selections here. For this demonstration, we're going to click on all users. And this brings up all of the users within the district of Breckenridge Community Schools that I have in the system here. So if I wanted to go in and edit, I can click on the icons here. But for the first demonstration, we're going to do a manual entry of a new user. So you want to, the asterisks indicate the information that needs to be filled in to create a record in CTEIS. So you want to go through and fill out this information. And I'm going to do that. So I'm going to fill in this information now for this demo. I filled in some of the information here. You want to fill in the title as well as the phone number for that information because it gets stored in the system. Again, it doesn't have to be filled in for CTEIS to create a record, but you might find that information helpful. So it's good to have accurate data. So you might want to fill that in. The next section here, or the next panel, is the level. I would need to select here. So we're going to select the level for the demonstration. And then I need to select or choose module here. So if it's going to have this user's going to have enrollment and funding, expenditures, or follow-up, I need to select here. And then down here at the bottom, the available buildings. Again, just because my capabilities for this demo only has this one district, that's the one that's listed here, but there should be other, depending on your access level, there may be other available buildings here. So if I click that, this user is assigned to this building with this level and this collection access. Once I've entered in the information, I can click the Add User. And we're going to change to my login. 1 second. So CTEIS has told me that user with the my login already exists. Let's try to see if this one works better. So I have a success message here at the bottom, user successfully updated. So this user information is now here. As we can see, it says F name, N name. Again, this is just for demo. So this is the person's first name and last name. The title would go here, as well as the phone number, the My Login, and then it says that it's active. If I need to deactivate, I can select this button here, and then this would come up here and reflect this here in the active column. If you want to edit existing users, again, you can click on the icon here. If you have a large number of users, you may want to use these columns here to type in to find a specific user. You can do that, or you can sort by using the arrows at the top of the column headers here. But we're going to click on, for instance, this first user. And if I wanted to go in and change roles here, I can go in and select the changes that I need to make and then hit the update user. And then you would get a success message from CTEIS, and that user will be updated. So this is a task that you may have to do now as far as granting access to staff and users. So this is the procedure that a level 5 fiscal agent authorized official would have. So if you have that access, this is a procedure that you may be doing at this time. So we're going to go now into another page as a fiscal agent. We're going to go into our district course review. Just as a note going forward, this is all of the collection period. So for enrollment that's due in June, that enrollment collection submission link is here. For expenditures in a few weeks, when you submit as a fiscal agency your expenditure reports, you want to click on that link. And then you could do a review by building, district follow-up review when the follow-up procedures come around or the collection comes around. That's due in January. This is the link that you want to do. But today we're going to go under district course review, and this demo is for the fall course and staff data submission. So again, that submission is due to your CPID administrator by October 12th. And the CPID administrator submits that information to OCTE by October 19th. So this, again, is the only building that I have available for this demonstration. If you were to click on this, this would drop down and you would have several other districts if that's what your access level is. So we only have one for this demo and only one building. Again, this could be filled here depending on your access level. But as you can see, the building reporter for Breckenridge Community Schools have already submitted the fall course and staff collection to me as the fiscal agency. So I can return this if I need to, if I viewed this information. So to click the view button, you can review the information here that was submitted. You can also export this information to a Excel document if you want to review offline. And you can then use that for your records if you want to review offline. But if all of this information is accurate and you are ready to submit to your CPID admin, you would then hit the complete button. This return button is to return the information back to the building status. But if you're ready to forward the information on to the CPID status, you would hit complete. And as you can see, once you hit complete, this closes the report at the fiscal status, so you can no longer make edits. In order to make edits, you would have to have it released by the CPID status. And again, this is for the fall course collection completion that's due in October. Just to give you another set of resource materials for this, I'm going to go back quickly to our knowledge base. And I showed the information for the fall data entry under enrollment. So we're going to go under our enrollment tab. And I showed the fall enrollment task information, but over here under special collections, these are also guides that are available for instructional information on how to input data. So here, if you're not familiar with the Perkins 4 segment instructional design guides, these links will link to design forms for Perkins 4 that still uses segments. So if you need to give this information or assist building reporters with instructional designs of courses, that information can be found under this link. So this is an example of an instructional design for a segment 4 course. And 1 second, and go back to our. This here is Perkins 5 that uses competencies, and these are the instructional designs by zip code. So all of the zip codes that are available are listed here. So if you click on one of these links, you can then open a Excel export that will give you the instructional design for that course. And I will share that just as soon as it opens. So this is an instructional design for a Perkins 5 that uses competency. So it gives the Perkins course overview, the competency statements, a crosswalk, an instructional design example, and then the actual instructional design form that can be used as a template. So again, all of this information as far as instructional designs can be found under the Special Collections tab on the enrollment homepage. And then again, the procedures for the fall task presentation can be found here. As you go forward, work-based learning as well as credential guides are here. As I stated, that's not due for the fall course and staff collection for October. But as you're getting prepared and making your procedures prepared for the spring, you may want to review that information or point someone in the direction of this information if you're assisting. So that information can be found under special collections as well. Okay, so now we're going to just make sure we reviewed all of the information as the fiscal agent. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to change my screen back to our agenda for just a minute. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our CPID Administrator Fall Task Recap. And we're going to go to our CPID Administrator homepage. So if you hover over the tab here and select CPID Admin on our support site at support.cetis.com, this will take you to the CPID Admin homepage. And just as we had with the level 5 authorized official, level 5 fiscal authorized official, this is the CTEIS responsibilities of the CPID. So if we click this document, it will give us a document of the procedures for the CPID administrator. So again, just an overview, support and assistance. So technical help, the PTD Technology Help Desk or CTEIS Help Desk. For reporting policy help, either Joan Church for both enrollment and expenditures, or Inchin E for follow-up. So as a CPID administrator, there are over 50 career education planning districts, or CPIDs, that exist across the state of Michigan. CPID administrators are important to the CTE reporting submission process, which is completed using the CTEIS application. Some of the responsibilities that a CPID would do is assisting the level 5 authorized official, or FAs, with overseeing district reporting activities, selecting funding options, analyzing assessment reports, reviewing CTE program data, and authorizing and forwarding the CTE reports to the Office of Career and Technical Education. So this is just an overview again, and this is just a graphical example of the screens in CTEIS. We're going to do a CPID demonstration as well in just a minute. Just want to highlight a few points within this document for the CPID administrators. This is a timeline of events. In September, we discussed for the fiscal agency the manage users task. You may need to assist new users. So that information that you saw earlier, you want to make sure that you make note of that. Begin coordinating expenditure personnel. Begin coordinating follow-up personnel. And then begin coordinating enrollment personnel and assisting with proper instructional design of classes. So we shared the information for the instructional design just a minute on the CTEIS knowledge base. So please make note of all of those locations of the documentations just in case you need to use it. For October, as we stated several times, the class and staff enrollment data deadline. Due to the CPID administrator, October 12th, and then the CPID administrator will submit that information to OCTE by October 19th. In November, the expenditures report submission due date. You want to keep that in mind. So all of the expenditures, that's the cost for operating CTE programs. You want to make sure that that information is due or submitted to OCTE in a timely fashion. And then you want to oversee the work-based learning and post-secondary credential collection. So again, that information isn't due in October, but you want to make sure that you're preparing for the spring collection. In January, the follow-up report submission is due. In April, oversee the UIC and MSDS data validation and review. And then as a CPID, you have the CPID option selection process in April. And we'll get into that in just a second. In May, there's the student enrollment data deadline. And then in June, you want to submit the enrollment reports. So for September, assisting new users in CTEIS, this is just information that fiscal agents are responsible for granting the access, as well as CPID administrator access. So if you have any questions regarding CPID administrator credentials, we ask that you please direct those questions to Joan Church at OCTE. Those are policy questions. This here is just a breakdown of the expenditure, follow-up, and enrollment data entry responsibilities. So again, we have the expenditure training coming up in October. So you want to make sure that all of the expenditure information is input for that expenditure report that's due in November. This here is follow-up, and this just kind of goes over the follow-up procedures. We do have follow-up training, but this is just laid out information as far as what's take place during the follow-up collection. So again, just a recap. All CTE courses and link staff members must be entered into CTEIS by the October due date. And then for expenditures, it is critical that all districts report all expenditure data by that November due date. So the expenditures documentation can be found on the support site at support.ctis.com. And then just a recap, the follow-up data entry, the reports that may be useful for reviewing the follow-up information is here. Looking ahead to April, overseeing the UIC and MSDS data review. And these are the reports that may be useful in overseeing that process as a CPID. And then as we look ahead, we will go more in depth at the spring training session for the fiscal agent and CPID admin. There is one additional training session for this school year that takes place in the spring, but we will go over the CPID options. But this here is in this documentation if you want to look ahead, but this is where you select. CPID administrators are responsible for selecting programs to receive allocations for 61A1 funding. After OCTE has approved and added new programs to your district, you will need to ensure that you select programs to draw from the CPID share, 40% of that 61A1 funds. And this is the instructions on how to navigate the CETA screens for CPID options. Again, this information is covered more in depth in our spring training, but this is here if you want to look ahead and familiarize yourself if needed. Again, just recapping the student enrollment data deadline in May. So all CTE students must be enrolled in at least one course section in CTEIS by the match date in May. And the reason that is after this date, the MSDS data matches occur infrequently. So OCTE cannot guarantee that further UIC errors will be resolved in time for the students to be counted on the enrollment report. So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind. The reports that may be useful for that review is listed here, bad UIC by building. Again, we're going to show where all of the reports can be found in just a minute. And then closing out with the spring task for the enrollment data and review submission. That's where all of your enrollment, work-based learning, and credentials is due in June. And additional reports that may be useful for reviewing. So this, again, is the CPID admin overview or instructional document. Please make sure that you make note of where this is, just in case you need to go back and review some procedures or some instructions on how to use the CETA screens for the different procedures. I'm going to come back to the CPID admin homepage. And just kind of, this is the agenda that we shared earlier. If you want to download that information, you can. This is CPID options, just a short, again, it was in the document that I just showed, but this is a quick guide for CPID options if you want to review that. Enrollment data review is for the spring, but submission processes, fall course, and staff data can be found here. And just as we showed with the fiscal agency, This is for the CPID admin. So this is how to review and submit building and courses, the course and staff data for the CPID administrators. And we will go through this demonstration in the train site, but this is just an outline of the instructions here. So we're going to go to our train site at train.cetis.com. I'm just going to change my screen over. So 1 second, I'm going to go on a brief pause. So again, we're back. This is the training site homepage. We are still logged in because I have that access as the CPID admin. So we're going to go under the admin tab. And this time we're going to look here in the center. And this is the enrollment collection review. This is for the spring. This link will be used in the spring to review that enrollment collection information when we're ready to submit. This is the CPID expenditures review, 61B expenditures review, expenditures review by building. This is the follow-up tab when we're ready to submit follow-up. And then this is the course review that we're going to be using now for our fall course and staff. And then looking ahead when we are in the spring, the CPID options for the CPID administrator. This is the page that you would use for your CPID options. So we're going to go ahead and select the CPID course review to give the demonstration of a fall course and staff submission at the CPID level. So again, for this demonstration, for this one, I do have an example of all of the districts that I would have. So this may look a little bit more like what you would see. So you want to make sure that you select the district. And then this is the Breckenridge Community Schools that we're going to use as our demonstration. So we can view this building. And this is, again, what we saw as the fiscal agency level. And this has all of the information that was submitted by the fiscal status. So as we see here, if we need to return this information to the fiscal status, we can hit this return button and it would then open that on the other side for the fiscal agency authorized official if needed. But if we're ready to submit this information to OCTE, we can hit the complete button here. Again, you can use the export button if you want to review this information offline, if you want to check instructional designs or make sure that the information is valid. You can export. This will give you an Excel export. But if you're ready to submit, you can hit the complete button. And then this process is completed at the CPID level. So this would then transfer to OCTE. And this is the process that would take place on October 19th. So just to show our reports tab or the reports tab, if you click reports, this will open the all of the reports that are available. For this demonstration, we're going to go under building reports, but there are building exports, funding reports, follow-up reports, the competence reports. All of that information was laid out in the document for the CPID. If you want to review the suggested reports for the collection periods. But this here also has the reports too. So this is the audit reports. I may have mentioned the BAT UIC by building when in the spring when you're looking forward to the UIC and MSDS match dates. You may use these reports here. So you can hit the select button and generate a report for that information here. This is program and student reports. So student advancement export. This will give you an Excel export. So all of the reports for program and student reports. And then down here is program and course reports. So the 3-year instructional design report might be something you may feel is useful as it lists the programs and subsections with segments for the 3 years. So you select this here and generate that export. It's going to export to Excel, and you can review that information offline. So this is where the reports are found. There is also additional reports that can be found. There was a new report that was released on the reports.cetis.com site. These are public reports that are on the report.cetis.com site. So we're going to share that screen. So if you go down here to work-based learning and credentials, again, just looking ahead, you want to make sure that you are thinking about the work-based learning and credential information. So here, the credential summary report. You can look at this the credential summary report that will list the programs by zip code. And you could select how you would like to run the report. So this is just information that was just released to us. So yeah, you can utilize that information here. But this is where the reports are here. So you can utilize all these reports if needed, and that's where you can find them. And again, we're just going to go back to the knowledge base, and we're going to go under enrollment and just go over here and just highlight the collection period that's due at this time. That's the fall course and staff data. You want to make sure that the building reporters are submitting those reports, and that the fiscal agent submits that report to the CPID, and then the CPID submits the report by October 19th to OCTE. All of the documentation here outlines how to input the course information as well as input the staff. If you want to use imports, that information again is located in this document, or you want to do a manual entry. The instructional designs for the courses are found here in the special collections. So down this link here, you can find instructional designs for the segments, that's Perkins 4, and then the competencies, that's Perkins 5. Looking ahead, the credentials guide, as well as the work-based learning information as you get prepared for the spring information. That information can be found here as you're setting up your course information for the spring enrollment period collection. So again, support.cetis.com is the knowledge base where you can find all of that information. And that is all of the information that we were to cover. We're going to go back to the agenda. And as we stated, we went through the fiscal agent task recap. We showed where all of the documentation can be found for the managed new users, and we demonstrated the managed new user screens. The expenditures training is coming up, but the expenditures information can be found on the knowledge base if you want to read ahead, as well as the follow-up information. Follow-up packets will be going out soon. So that's all of the information that you would need to conduct your follow-up report. So look out for those packets. The enrollment instructional designs, I showed where those templates can be found. So you want to make sure that you are working with the staff on the instructional design of courses. And then that fall course and staff collection, which is the course and staff information, is due in October. So we went over the submission procedures for that on how to submit. So we went through both of those for the CPID admin as well as the fiscal agent. Looking ahead, again, that fall course and staff collection, the fiscal agent submits to the CPID admin by October 12th, and then the CPID submits to OCTE by October 19th. Expenditures training is the next collection period that's coming up. There is an available training date available on October 5th. So please make note if you have not registered, we would encourage you to do so. Follow-up training begins on October 17th. And then looking ahead to the UIC and MSDS data review in the spring. Once that follow-up report is submitted in January, you want to make sure that you're doing the procedures for the spring collection that will come forward in June, excuse me. So this is all of the information that we have for this training. Again, please make sure to keep in mind the support site at support.cetis.com for all of these resources. And make sure to sign up for the next training session, just to show where you can sign up for training. We're going to go to the support site and show where the training tab. So training here, you can go down, so hover over training, select registration and training, and this lists all of the training that we have available for the fall. And these are the dates that we were discussing about expenditures, and then follow-up. And then for fiscal agent and CPID admin, the next training session is in May. So just make note of that. May 29th, 2024 is the next training for fiscal agent and CPID admin. All right, so we are done, and Diana has dropped in the chat the training evaluation link. At the end of each training, you will be prompted to fill out a training evaluation, and this information lets us know about our training. So we would really appreciate if you would fill that information out. You can also use the link that Diana has provided in the chat if you want to leave early, but as soon as I end the meeting, the training evaluation pops up. But again, we would really appreciate your input, so please make sure to fill out that training evaluation. But yes, this concludes our CPID admin and fiscal agent training. All of the information is available on support.cetis.com that I covered today. Once we put up the webinar, this training video has been recorded. Once we upload this information, it will be there as well. So you can use the link if you need to come back and review any information. But yes, as of right now, this is the end of the training. I'm going to stay on for a few minutes to answer any questions on the content that we went over this morning if needed. So you can just drop your questions in the chat. But if you're all set to go, we will see you in the next training. And thank you for your time and attention. So I'm going to remain on for a few minutes just to answer questions if needed. But everyone else, you are free to go if you do not have any questions.